right, so I think it's time we talk about Obi-Wan. Episode 3. Season 1, maybe. Because there's some rumors that we'll get into later, but
they're calling these episodes parts.
Yes.
So it's part 3, which is so weird to me. I'm like, how do they decide that? I don't know.
I wonder if it's because like originally it was like going to be a movie. So I wonder if that kind of...
It's also short. There's only 6 parts.
Yeah.
So,
same thing. Spoilers for Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it's been out for a while.
I mean, the next episode drops tomorrow.
I know.
Yeah,
we're so late on these
Just
always.
discussion, guys. We're gonna go in depth discussion here. This is the best discussion you'll get anywhere on the internet.
Don't say
Anywhere.
internets.
Internets.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
That's why I said internet.
You know what? Just turn the podcast off. Let's go. Guys, Mick's about to walk out.
On the interwebs.
Ooh, getting better and better. Episode 3, very, very Vader heavy episode. What'd you guys think?
I thought the Vader stuff was really cool. Corey and I, when we were watching it, that was the first question we asked, like, are we going to get Vader? Because they gave the reveal, and then it starts with Vader getting his suit on, and you actually see Hayden Christensen in the suit, getting that helmet on. I think that was awesome. Obviously, I think some of the best parts of the episode were Obi-Wan communicating with Leia, when they're talking about
Their dialogue was so good.
Like all that kind of stuff was really good. But I think obviously the biggest thing is like the best part of the show was Vader.
Yeah.
And him snapping people's necks. Like he snaps a kid's neck, he kills the dad. He's just making Obi-Wan come out. So I just thought that was really good. I'll let you guys talk. I have some things that we talked about last week about the difference between movies and TV shows that I think that I was like, I think that would have looked better in a movie. But we can talk about that later. But all in all, I think the Vader stuff was really awesome. The dialogue between them, they didn't say much, but even when he's like, "What have you become?" and he's like, "I am what you made me." The voice was spot on, and
did you hear the
robot?
They used a robot, which you could tell.
He's more machine now than man. Right?
You could tell the difference. In Rogue One, Vader sounded old. And in this one, he sounded right on. So it was like, that's kind of crazy that they were able to do that.
And they said it is easier doing voice versus like
deepfaking.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so much harder. So
they should have deepfaked Vader, like the mask. And
CGI.
Made him look younger.
Straight out of Battlefront.
The suit just looked a little off. Anyways. And last thing, the little reveal of Quinlan Voss being alive and helping smuggle kids out. I've said this on Facebook and stuff, but I think that might be a little tease that he actually saved Grogu, which would be kind of cool. And again, if I'm going full speculation, I'm hoping he shows up in the next episode. Here we go. I'm done.
Here.
No.
Well, I raised a glass.
I don't remember the actor's name.
Ice Cube's son.
Yes.
Is that who it is?
He
okay.
put the tweet. He's like, wait till they find out who I'm playing.
I think that he might be playing Quinlan.
That would be pretty
Shea
sick.
Jackson.
Yeah. Same thing. This episode was so good. All the Vader stuff was great. The dialogue between them, I am what you made me, save that with all the other great Vader quotes out there.
You can stuff your sorries in a sack, mister. No.
Especially that one.
That's not Vader line. No? We watched the different
That might be from like Robot Chicken or something. And
Sure that wasn't in Spaceballs?
I think that's it.
I know what it's from, but I'm not going to let him say it. I'm not giving him the satisfaction.
But yeah, just learning more about Obi-Wan with the fact that he had a family. I didn't really even think about that watching the prequels, but that is what happens with the Jedi. They're taken from the family, and just learning that he might have had a brother it's interesting. I don't need to like see anything with his brother, but just like knowing
Joby
that
won.
No, Billy
Obi-2, right?
Joby won.
But
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
so I like that a lot. Just humanizing him more and just hearing more about his background was really cool. And yeah, the dialogue between him and Leia was really good in the episode. I love when they talked about, you know, how the Force feels. It's like turning on a light when you're scared of the dark. Just really easy to grasp.
Never heard anyone describe it that way, so that was cool.
Yeah,
Missed opportunity for midichlorians. He's like, well, there are these.
we need to do a blood
microscopic
test. Microscopic life forms. I was hearing people episode 2, when he's saying that you remind me of, you know, someone that I used to know. That people were saying that they thought it was what's her face?
Satine.
Nah, but it's like there's
that's wishful thinking. Why would you say that?
It wouldn't make any sense.
He's Padme's daughter.
That's very obvious.
You remind me of a Mandalorian I met one time.
What?
It had nothing to do with you, but
I may or may not.
My brother, Joby too.
So moving into this episode, it's clear that, I mean, he definitely is being remembered of Padme.
Right.
So I liked their dynamic quite a lot. And yeah, obviously, like I said, stuff with Vader was great. Excuse me. I've been seeing a lot of complaints online about Vader, though, that I think is just ridiculous. Like, he's not, you know, why isn't he like wrecking shop? Why didn't he just jump over the fire and just all this stupid stuff where...
When have you seen Vader jump over fire? Never.
He probably has a fear of it, honestly, after what he was through. Like, that's
I mean,
brutal.
he lives on Mustafar. I don't think he'd be
I just
afraid
think
of fire. To me, it's just I feel like
face his fears.
This is Anakin 10 years after everything that happened to him in Revenge of the Sith. To me, this shows that he's learned from his mistakes. He's not hot-headed anymore. Yes, he's like more angry, and you know, he has that drive to capture Obi-Wan, but he is more, I feel like, tactful now. So I didn't have a problem with that at all, that he didn't, you know, pursue Obi-Wan in that moment.
I disagree with that. I don't think he's more tactful. I think he's more arrogant. And so when he for 10 years, he's been searching for Obi-Wan, and then when he fights Obi-Wan, he just destroys him. Like, it's not even a fight. He's like, you're old now. Like, he's using one hand, Obi-Wan's using two. Like, Vader's not even putting any strength. And so I think in that moment, he realizes he has no way of beating me. He's defeated. He's been 10 years of hiding. He hasn't done any training. And so when he sees... Like, he's just going to basically torture him, right? He says, this is the beginning of your suffering. But then he sees that someone saves him. So I think at that point, he's like, I could kill him now, but, like, he's weak. Why don't I just see where they take him? And I'm going to find out if there's more Jedi 100%. With him. That's, I think it's his arrogance, and I think that's what's going to eventually be his undoing again, is that Obi-Wan's going to learn through Qui-Gon or somebody, regain his hope.
That to me seems more tactful, though. Like the fact that he's thinking about those things and not just, I gotta kill him. I gotta kill him right there.
You said you disagree, but you, in fact, it turns out you agree. I feel like I'm
he's saying
Murray right now.
I'm saying,
in fact, it is your son.
I'm saying it. What I'm saying is, his mind and his arrogance is still like the point where he's like, this is easy for me. Like, he's not an issue anymore, and that's going to be his downfall. Where he underestimates, he's like, I'm just going to be able to track him. I'm going to be able to take him. So I think he hasn't learned in that regard, where he's still as arrogant as ever, because now he's Vader. He's the Dark Lord himself.
Tactfully arrogant.
There you go.
There you go. But we meet in the middle.
It's so beautiful what happened between you two. It's great. I struggled with it initially, like, yeah, he should just destroy him right now, like capture all of them. But then I was like, yeah, he's probably just wants to get to the what's behind all this.
Yeah.
And he wants to unlock what's going on.
Especially if he knows there's like an underground railroad of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, they're realizing there's stuff going on.
No, I was okay with it. I thought it was really cool too. I loved the brutality of like just like dragging him through the fire. Yeah. Like, that was pretty crazy. But yeah, I liked most of the stuff in this episode. The only thing I was kind of like, was Leia running through like the tunnel, and then the third sister was there, and I was like, okay, so So she's gonna be captured and again, basically. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, this is where we're going. We have 3 more episodes. Okay, so we're locked into Leia. This is the story. Yeah. We know exactly where this is going. Obi-Wan now has allies, and so we're kind of developing this team and kind of like the organization between it, but behind everything. So I think it's progressing really well. I like the brutality of Darth Vader walking in and destroying people. That was good. I think I bought all of that. I can see where people are like, he should just be destroying everyone. But I think that comes from people who are just huge Darth Vader fans. And they're just like, he's so powerful. He's the most powerful. Why would he even play around like that? But I think it does well for the story to build that up. I think, I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go. Like, I don't know exactly what's going to be episode 4. Like, I'm not really sure.
I'll tell you.
Is Quinlan Vos going to be like the next episode? Like, are we going to meet up, or is this going to be like a slow reveal, like at the end? I'm not really sure, but I'm excited about where it's going. And I think this is probably by far my favorite episode so far. There's only 3 of them. What did you think, Josh?
Yeah, I really liked the episode. I was surprised that we got so much Vader from like the get-go. It was like, all right, we're checking out Vader right now. I thought that was really cool. Like, just we get to see his little office there.
All the paperwork he hasn't done.
Exactly.
He's behind.
It says world's best Sith.
His sick throne room and stuff like that. I also liked Obi-Wan being like, "Master, he's coming," kind of a thing was a cool setup for that. But yeah,
bro.
Everything else in the episode I really liked. I know we've talked about it a lot, but the stuff with Leia, him talking to Leia, just kind of like reinforcing that idea of like Padme was a big deal. All that stuff. And the stuff with his brother was cool too. And Ewan McGregor just like kills it in this role. Like, you can just see, like, I like when she's like, "Are you my real dad?" Like, even that is like, oh dang, that's I know that meme we just sent was pretty funny. We'll show it to you guys later. But yeah, just the fact, and you can tell it like hurts him to say like, "Man, I wish, I wish I could say that I was, but I'm, so all that stuff was cool. And then I do like him bringing up the fact that like, hey, I had a brother too. Yeah. And he's like, I really wish I knew something about him, because we kind of get back into the whole thing with the Jedi.
Yeah,
and
take him early.
It's
from
like
the families.
Bunch of jerks.
The Jedi weren't really doing great stuff, to be honest. They're actually the bad guys of this whole
from a certain point of view.
Yeah, and you guys want to be Jedi. You guys want to steal kids from
So
their
you
parents.
would rather the Sith get
I'd rather
to them.
kill the
Got
kids.
it. Okay, cool.
Exactly. We wouldn't be ripping them from their families.
We'd be
yes.
ripping
The
their
Sith
heads
would
from their
be.
bodies.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
either
they
way.
difference.
They could still live. I would subjugated.
That's what
They might be slaves,
That's
but
what
at
they
least
do.
they'll have
You've seen
each other.
examples of that, huh?
Yeah.
You think they make like
They'd be building ships for
they
us.
get like apartments for their families to live in?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, bro.
They just have a nice, healthy, friendly Sith school.
Yeah, exactly.
They have naps and they have snacks and
They
play jump rope with the Force.
They put their handprints on the ship, and I'd be like,
then for graduation they kill
Little
each
bit.
other, and
Exactly.
only the last one is the strongest, and
That's
they
right.
become a real Sith.
It's better than stripping someone from their family and then being like, you can't go back and save them even though they're slaves.
Yeah, it's true.
That's real cruelty.
even though the Tusken Raiders are.
Wow, man, you guys are corrupt. That's crazy.
I like bringing in that aspect of it. I'm the same with you, Mick. I'm like, I don't need to see his brother. It's just it's a character building moment.
Yeah.
I mean, but
I
if
do.
they make a spin-off
too.
series, I'm good. Let's do it. And then, all the Vader stuff was cool. Seeing that you guys already talked about that line of like, I am what you made me was awesome. I really like that we didn't really get Obi-Wan turning on his lightsaber. Like, it was a build up and you're like, is he going to do it? And then he does, but he's like, oh shoot.
Yeah,
It was almost like, oh, dang.
You're like, oh, there you are.
Oh shoot. Yeah, just how he turned it on. That whole scene
there
was
you are.
awesome.
That's what he did. Because Vader lights it up and he goes, you think he's going to get it? And he goes, see ya.
Yeah, he pieces out.
Yeah.
And then he's like looking back and forth like, oh, where's he coming from? And then he ignites it because he's like, oh, I'm kind of scared.
Well, I heard people complaining that like, oh, it should have been like a more significant moment and more like pomp and circumstance of him doing the lightsaber. And I'm like, well, we got that with him using the Force. And to me, that was more like appropriate for that. Like, I thought it was very organic of him just lighting his lightsaber, and it was just so cool. Like you were saying, it was so cool.
I think the point is though that he's not lighting it with purpose.
Right.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm trying to save my butt. I
He
think
needs to see because it's dark.
We'll get another moment, I'm pretty sure, later in the series where he's like, I'm lighting this. I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
And I'm here to fight. With this one, it was like, I'm just trying to survive.
Whoa.
Yeah. People, it's what drives me crazy.
Slap some people.
People keep like saying like, well, why isn't he like this? Why isn't he like this? The whole point is they're telling you like he has no hope. Yeah. He's like, when Bail Organa comes, he's like, I'm not the same person. They do the whole thing where he doesn't use the Force. He barely uses it when Leia's about to fall, and he catches her right at the end. Mm-hmm. He hasn't used the Force. He's been 10 years without doing it. Qui-Gon Jinn can't communicate with him because he's basically shut himself off to the Force, right? So the whole thing is there's building up this whole thing where he's basically like hesitant to ignite his lightsaber, to use the Force, to fight, and he's seeing other Jedi that are still doing the fight. What does he tell the young Jedi? He's like, we lost, right? It's over. Like, go and hide your lightsaber. But then he's seeing Quinlan Vos is still like smuggling kids out and doing like resisting, you know,
it was like the worst
the path, right? He's got this thing, he's got the path. And I think what ultimately is going to happen is I think he's going to see Quinlan Vos. Quinlan Vos is going to kind of give some hope to him, or he's going to find a Jedi that he's like, hey, you can still be a Jedi, even though we're, you know, in hiding. But I think what ultimately is going to, he's going to finally have hope again. And that's when he's going to be able to finally communicate with Qui-Gon, which is going to open himself up to the Force fully. And then he's going to be a completely different beast that's going to defeat Vader when they fight again in the season finale. Yes, it's going to be, and this is leading up.
You got me, buddy. Okay, keep it going.
This is leading up.
Yeah. Luke's coming in. Han Solo's Emperor's coming in.
Little baby Luke.
Yoda's coming in.
Retcon it.
If you've seen Rebels,
Grogu.
If you've seen Rebels and how he kills Darth Maul, he kills Darth Maul in one swing. And Dave Filoni talks about the fact that this is a Jedi that has purpose, that has been training, that is defending the person. So I'm like, there's a difference between that Obi-Wan and this one. And what's the difference is he's going to become the Jedi that has purpose in what he's doing. So he's still a Jedi. Right now, he doesn't believe he's a Jedi anymore. That's going to happen. He's going to open himself up to Qui-Gon, and we're going to see the Obi-Wan that we see in Rebels destroy Anakin.
Listen,
that's
Jonah,
what's going to happen.
Jonah, you keep referencing Rebels. They clearly don't care about that show. Obviously,
Yeah,
they killed the Grand Inquisitor. Okay, so throw it out the window.
They already talked about that. The writers came out and was like, he's alive. Like, people need to stop complaining. This so drives me nuts.
Well, the Palians have two stomachs, don't they?
They do. Here's an interesting theory about that. So I just watched a video where they were saying that what if not only like, yes, we've seen people survive, but they're like,
they drop him off on Tatooine.
No, but they're like Palpatine.
And Thundercat fixes him up.
They're like Palpatine has been trying to perfect, because we see in the sequels, right, to cheat death. He talks about that in the prequels, that Darth Plagueis knew the secrets to cheat death. He learned from him. So Palpatine's always been looking for that. What if they've used, like one guy was saying, what if there's a theory that the Grand Inquisitor is basically a clone, like, and they're using him, and they continue to use him to kind of test, because they can live up to 700 years. And so if you were to make a clone that would be like a body that the Emperor could use, would you not use this kind of testing? And they've done it in Mandalorian. You see a bunch of different species clones in this thing that were basically for Palpatine. So like, could the Grand Inquisitor be around this? Because in the comics there's stuff where he's
I mean, once you open
alive.
up the technology of cloning, yeah, sure.
Right.
It's always on the table then. Yeah, for sure.
But it's an interesting theory.
I don't think they have to go that far, though.
He's in a bacta tank. He's got two stomachs.
It's literally cauterized. It's cauterized. Yes. He's chilling. He's not bleeding out. He's all right. He just can't eat as much.
Yes.
The other thing, the other thing I really liked about this episode was the stuff with the Inquisitors. Like, we kind of get more background of them being like, well, I talked to Vader already.
Yeah.
So you get like a little bit of competition between
them.
All right. Well, I liked it.
But I'm saying like it wasn't like super like interesting to me. I'm like,
It was like two scenes.
This is standard.
Yeah, I
like
know.
Inquisitor,
I mean,
like-
It established it
It's
enough.
stuff we've seen in canon
Yeah.
that they're actually bringing into live action.
I'm just saying
So
it just came off as like Inquisitor bickering. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Right.
as like, oh, there's so much like weight on this. It's like, oh yeah, this is what they do. Like they hate each other. Like
Right.
Well, I
they're
think
vying
it's just,
for like.
it's just the show explaining it more. Even though,
Right.
I think we all
Yeah.
agree it is kind of
It's
like
just more of a-
we don't really care that much, but it is cool to like
Yeah,
see
not as cool as
that-
you guys think.
Believe it or not, well, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Believe it or not,
returning the favor. You
the
little
episode can't be 100% all the time, right?
No, I'm just saying, like, because I feel like most people are like, well, why did they do that? Or why is she
Right.
doing that? And why? It's like, well, this is the dynamic
Yes.
with dark,
Yeah, they hate each other. that's
the
why you don't go
dark
sit.
side users.
That's why you are not. You don't choose
It's like, so it's bringing that in and
No
bringing in
haters.
that
Stab you in the
dynamic.
Yeah.
And then
the
Vader
front.
playing them off each
Yeah,
other
absolutely.
makes sense. Because he's like, yeah, I'm gonna throw you a bone, basically, kind of a
Right.
thing. He's just using them also. So it establishes that dark side
Yeah.
dynamic.
Well, even in canon, Vader doesn't like the Inquisitors.
Right.
It's Palpatine's like
Way to, like,
orders
keep him in
to
check
be like,
kind
hey,
of a
yeah,
thing.
we need the Inquisitors, and Vader hates the fact that
Right.
there has to be Inquisitors. So even that whole dynamic of like, he doesn't care if they're like bickering with one another if they kill each other. Right?
Well, yeah,
to him, it
he
doesn't
clearly
matter.
doesn't shy away from
Yeah.
like, hey, if you screw up, I'm going to kill
You
you.
know, now that you say it, it's really stupid. You're right.
My question is, well, how does the dynamic with the third sister and Darth Vader, how does it kind of like at the end? How are they going to be interacting with each other? Is there going to be a conflict of interest there where Darth Vader kills the third sister?
I mean, I
Is
guess
Obi-Wan Kenobi the one who's killing the third sister? Like, what's happening there?
I would hope, and I think it would make everything that the third sister has been doing so far justified. That I think that she reveals to Vader that she knows that he's Anakin, thinking that, oh, I can, get closer to him this way and be more connected with him. But then Vader sees it as, oh, well, I guess I'm going to kill you now. Like that type of scene.
Yeah, you're a loose end.
I would be really pleased with that, and I think it would just make those two characters a lot better.
What about the other aspect of, is she redeemable? Because it seems like she was a Jedi, obviously, and is there a redemption arc for her?
I think she's redeemable in the way that she may not. At the end, she might not kill Obi-Wan if she has an opportunity to, or Leia, or something like that. I think they
And
showed
the
us
choices she makes,
They
basically.
showed us her in Order 66. I think there's going to be something that flashes back to that where she makes a
Yeah.
decision, but I don't think where it's like she survives and then she becomes a Jedi and helps out with the rebellion. I don't think there's that. Now, this is a chance. So, there's rumors that there's going to be a season 2 of Obi-Wan.
Yeah, okay.
Like this has been going out. And so the only thing I've read is that they've changed the ending, and they, the person that posted this said a
Blue
character that
Blue
was
Angel.
a character that
Make it
was
a comment.
originally going to die in the
Yeah.
series. They're changing it so that character doesn't die and they can be in season 2.
It was Vader, right?
Quinlan
So,
Voss.
Wow.
so a lot of people are saying that that's Reva, that she was originally going to die and they're changing it. Now, I don't know if that's it comes from a source that has been right about a lot of things and always gets a bunch of leaks.
Was it WikiLeaks?
No, it's Making Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
But they've had movies and all the
Dude.
stuff. They've had seasons of Mandalorian.
I would love to.
So that's kind of a rumor that they greenlit season 2 and that they changed the ending
yeah.
so that's going to be interesting if it's true, because I think that's probably going to be Reva. That's the only character that I would think like who's originally going to die that then they want to continue to move into season 2. I would think it'd be her. So anyways, we'll find out. But
I would love to see they do that flashback to Order 66, and it's like there's an Inquisitor or something like that there, or someone, and they like capture the kids and they're like, fight, and they like she has to kill like all the
We're
other
having
younglings.
tryouts.
Exactly.
Snaps a
that'd be
lightsaber.
well,
crazy.
there weren't
That'd be so
Inquisitors
sick.
at that point.
I know.
though.
I'm saying like if there was a situation where like, well, Darth Vader's
Well,
there,
Anakin's
Anakin's
hey,
there.
You younglings, I
Yeah.
killed a bunch of you in that room up there, but I'm going to give you guys a chance.
I just think that'd be sick. Because how does she get to the dark side? Right, she has to be captured,
Right.
some way or another.
And then in canon, they basically torture them.
And ask them, you either die or you can become one of an
So
Inquisitor.
they torture
Die
them to
hero.
become Inquisitors. I think if I'm gonna,
Are you okay?
Yeah.
what the heck is happening? Okay,
I thought you were acting like a
he's
frog
like,
over
he's
there.
like
gills.
pretending like.
I was gonna say something, and I was
Okay.
I did actually enjoy that moment with Reva. Like, I think she's been
It keeps sounding like Reba when you guys say that.
whatever that.
Dude, I used to watch that show all the
Man, why do you look so weird when you do that?
That's the Reva show.
Man, what are you
Look it up,
playing,
kids.
dude?
sax.
That's a small
Smallest saxophone.
Have you ever seen the Jack Black sax that he does? The toy
the
one?
saxaboom.
Saxaboom.
Yeah. That's what I'm playing, bro.
Anyway, so Reva.
Reba, yeah, McIntyre.
Yeah. I really did actually like that scene where she sees the Jedi symbol and she kind of has that reaction.
Throw some cups.
It wasn't like over the top of like, you know, like if I feel like she's been over the top in the other episodes, and that was like I was like, oh, that's a good moment where you were like,
Yeah, she didn't flare her nostrils.
you had
That was so.
yeah, you had emotion and it was like believable.
even do
It
it.
wasn't
Right,
like over
yeah,
the top.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah,
Do you guys think that there's more to that loader droid than
No.
they were letting on?
it's Quinlan Voss.
Wait,
actually.
are you asking if there's more than meets the eye?
More.
Is he a transformer?
Yeah.
He's Optimus
More
Prime.
than meets the eye.
That's another rumor I heard that there's
a transformer?
It's actually more than just a droid.
It's
Like there's a
C-3PO
homie
and
in
R2
there?
in there.
Maybe because honestly, if I thought they said that O'Shea Jackson was playing a droid when I originally heard that, and so I was really confused when I was like, they showed him and he didn't speak or anything. I was like, that's the role he got.
He's like, wait till they see who I'm playing. It's a loaded
that would be
droid.
interesting.
Well, just the scene with him
be.
with the hammer, it just seemed almost too human-y the way he was like possibly going to wipe him out. But I don't know. Just something I heard that I thought was kind of interesting.
Where'd you hear it? Source.
From
It's a good
the-
source.
Making Star Wars. Yeah, that would be interesting. I do like Leia's. Like, we still get the repeated thing with Leia where she's like, has the thing with droids where she's like, "Whoa, dude, what if he has something to say?"
Was I the only one who didn't know this? But Carrie Fisher's pet bird was named Lola, and that's a reference to.
Nice.
Dude, that was awesome.
Yeah.
When she was a kid, around that age, she had a pet bird named Lola. I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's
pretty cool.
I really like that. And they named the droid after it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into some nitpicks. Okay, guys?
Sure. We got to get there eventually. Yep.
I think the music wasn't on par with what I wanted when Vader shows up.
Yep.
It just felt pretty generic and not that you need the Imperial March, but give me something that alludes to it. It just felt like
Something
rewatching
more
it
menacing,
again.
more
Rewatching it
menacing.
again, I was like, like I wonder why they chose that. So the music felt a little off to me. And this last week we talked about, maybe it was last week or the week before, but we talked about if we want movies, rather have movies or the shows.
Yeah.
And I kind of mentioned how shows are kind of limited. I feel like if this was done in a movie,
It'd be over. We wouldn't have any more story.
well, yeah, but I
We wouldn't
think
be talking about it
I
anymore.
think there were parts in this episode that I was like, yes, this clearly looks like a TV show set. And I think it's specifically the shot with the fire and how it was filmed. And I just felt like it wasn't very dynamic with the background. Like you just have mounds of dirt.
There's not enough depth, like realistic depth.
Yes. And so for me, even the shot where it was far off and they both had their lightsabers ignited, it was like the backdrop is mounds of dirt.
Where would
Instead
you,
of like infinite background that had really interesting
yeah,
like
and
shapes.
if we just compare it to like,
like a dirt pile.
Mustafar or like other stuff that we've seen in movies, there's like a grandeur to it that you can't get on TV.
Which
and
I
so
think
for
you
me,
can, you just have to dump a ton of money into it.
yes, and so for me, there's
But they're not
just even
going to do
things,
that.
even the planet when they get to it was like, oh, you guys went to Southern California. There's a bunch of Joshua trees there, and you're just filmed out there. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't look like an alien planet. It looked like they were filming in California.
I mean, you have Tatooine though. It's just a desert. You have Endor. That's a fort. I mean, I get what you're
But
saying.
I'm saying like in that it just.
but like,
it
where
felt-
would you rather have had their confrontation?
I think they could have had it there, but
Yeah.
a perfect example is in Solo, right? In Solo, they're at a refinery also, but it like they're in a crate. There's like all this stuff built around it. There's the Millennium Falcon in the back.
Yeah.
and there's like stuff that makes it look like
you just
One of
wanted
them, Millennium
more.
Falcon in the
no,
back.
but I'm saying like you have like it was just mounds of dirt and nothing around them. And so like even a perfect scene is like when he runs away from him, he just like goes off screen to the right or to the left, and then he's like around another mound of dirt and Vader comes. It just, to me, it felt like you just have a limited budget and it's a TV show, whereas I feel like in movies you have a lot more money, so you spend it on all that kind of stuff, like the designs, backgrounds, all that kind of stuff. In this, it just felt very
Small scale.
TV, and so that's kind of what I was saying about like the whole.
Yes.
When I prefer movies, is there's a grandeur to them. Where this, I felt like I was a little bit pulled out because I was like, it doesn't look as cool as I expected it to, and I think that's a little unfortunate.
I guess I agree with you with the music. I don't know. It seems like the Disney era, they're afraid to use the Imperial March. I feel like I haven't heard it that much. But I think that would have been like a good moment to just have it ominous in the background. Actually, some of the music, like when Obi-Wan and Leia are walking, it reminded me a lot of Dune. It sounded very Hans Zimmer Dune-ish to me.
So trash, basicly.
He got an Oscar for that trash.
Second best. That's
exactly.
Second best. It just sounds like second place.
But I get what you're saying with the setting. To me, it worked because it was. I don't think it's not the rematch that like Kathleen Kennedy was talking about. I think I would be very surprised if they didn't have another confrontation, and I could see that being on like a more interesting place, more interesting background. So for me, that didn't bother me that much. I can understand though why you'd say that.
For me, I agree with you 100% because in movies they have a way bigger budget. What? He's making
I'm
faces.
smiling.
Yeah.
In movies, framing and skyboxes and the shots they choose, they do a lot more wide sweeping, larger view shots where you see the size of things, right?
Yeah.
They have way better scaling in movies because they have more money to do that because it's only 2.5 hours. In this, it's just the frames are tight, right? And the sets, they're limited, and you're not seeing those sweeping shots that give that epic feel to it that a movie has. And that's what I really feel like that's the most prominent for at least the shots that we're seeing in this. An example of what they did good was the city where Haja was.
Yeah.
That bustling down underground kind of feel, Tokyo feel.
Yeah.
That was great. That was probably the higher end of the feels that I've seen for shots. But yeah, I agree with you. Especially when you bring Vader into it, it's like, yeah, I just wanted it to feel a little bit more epic. And the music has to do with it, and so does the framing and the depth of the backdrops.
Well, and I think too, so in Mando, they've used like the volume and have done some really cool like backstage stuff that looks alien. They filmed this on a set. They weren't using the volume on that part. And I think if they would have used, problem is with Vader, his helmet reflects light. So I think they can't really use Vader in the volume as much. It has to be more of
He's Mando though.
yeah, but I'm saying like they'll do stuff like when it's dark like that.
Yeah.
You're just using they wanted the aspect of the whole, like him coming out of the darkness and emerging, right?
Right.
So when you have screens, it takes away from that darkness, right? Because all the stuff they do in Mando is really light. Like when it's Tatooine or when it's like when he goes to that ice planet, it's really bright, so the screens pop. But when you're doing something that's Vader coming out of the shadows, so I think that's why they didn't use the volume in that area. And I think that's why it kind of suffered. I think if they have a place where it's in the final confrontation, I think it's gonna be well lit. I think.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna take advantage of it, and I think it's gonna look a lot cooler. My thing is, it just felt really, like Corey says, narrow, nothing interesting, and that's kind
They're
of.
just not doing a lot of wide shots, sweeping
Well,
wide
I guess
shots.
the way that I mean, because clearly the show is capable of doing the wider shots, more grand locations. Alderaan, you were talking about the city last episode. I think that it was a very purposeful decision because to me it seemed like much more of an intimate, of them coming back to get back together. I think that was on purpose why they did that. A smaller location, not like giant sweeping shots. It was very, like you were saying, it was like close framing and everything. I think that was done on purpose for it to feel more of a more intimate coming back together.
I mean,
that's just how I saw it. But.
I mean, I see it as it saves them money, and I just like when they do Alderaan, they did do a greater shot, but they don't do the middle shots. Like when she's running through the woods, maybe a top-down view of like the giant forest that she's in instead of just a few trees.
Yeah.
Like it just
a guy holding a branch.
It just and it's like a close-up of this little branch. He's like, oh, like. It just hurts the epicness of the story that you would get from a movie. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And it's a TV show, and I get it. It's hard to get money for all that for 6 episodes.
And I'd say I understand what they were going for with the intimate aspect of it. I think you can still have an intimate aspect and still have an more interesting background.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like it was mounds of dirt. Like they could have had like a refinery or something in the back or more things, but it was like out of nowhere he kind of hits the thing and the smoke comes out and then it's like, oh, just a bunch of mounds of dirt. I just felt it wasn't interesting and it felt like a low budget set, even though it's not low budget, but I think
lower budget.
Yes. Yeah. But I just think I understand what they're going for, what the whole point was. I just feel like it could have been done in a better place that was more interesting and not give me that feel.
And there's less movement, right? In these smaller like set pieces.
Yeah.
It's like they're working with like a 200 by 200 feet square and they're not moving outside that. Like the most movement we saw was when they were running on top of the buildings. That was like the most movement we saw. And so that was great as far as like distance traveled. But, when he's fighting Darth Vader and it's like, just move a little bit, they're not really going anywhere. So I don't know. What do you think, Josh?
I'm on Team Mick all the way, baby. Yeah. That's why I was laughing because you were like, I agree with Jonah. And I was like, and I'm going to be like, I agree with Mick. I do get what you're saying. For me, it just didn't bother me.
Oh, sure. We're just saying that's the difference between a movie and a TV show. That's all we're pointing out.
Like, I appreciate more like Mick's saying, the more intimate, closer up. Because if it was in a movie, then we'd get more CGI is what we'd get.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like,
the things that are selling the scene is Vader and Obi-Wan. Right. You don't need.
It doesn't matter to me that a droid flies by carrying some molten lava. It doesn't make a difference to me. Yeah. I'm focused on
like the depth of the city, like how many buildings there are. That doesn't like add to the epicness of it, like the grand scale of it, or you don't care about the scale. No,
in this specific moment, the size of the city did not bother me at all because I'm like, we're at a small town. Vader's here. I'm focused on Vader and Obi-Wan. It doesn't. The scale of the city doesn't change Vader at all.
It's not selling it more for you if they add in more stuff. For me and Jonah, it is selling it more for us. I think that's why.
Because for me, it doesn't change Vader's character at all. It doesn't change the ultimate interaction that he has with Obi-Wan. I'm still focused on these two characters and what's happening between them. And then if you're talking about scenes, I thought that scene from looking at the fire up to Vader is an awesome shot.
That's a good shot.
It's a really good shot.
That was the best shot. That was the best shot.
It's amazing.
And it's a great shot. And it's a close-up shot.
But then when you come back, the shot back here where you have the stormtroopers and him, and then you realize they can just go around the fire, that's where it starts to look like you could have done something to make it look like. That's where there's shots in that where, yes, there's some good shots in it. But here's another thing. When I watch, so I have to bring Zack Snyder and everything, but there's shots in BBS.
Rebel Moon.
There's shots in BBS or there's shots in Star Wars that you're like, I need, or even in Mando that you're like, I need to put that as my background of my phone. That shot. There's not a shot in this where I'd be like, that's a cool shot that I need to have in
Vader
my...
the fire's
Vader
cool.
going like this in front of the fire?
Okay, well, with them fighting...
Them fighting also.
Like I said, it goes back. You can go back and watch it. It goes back, and I just... my immediate reaction was I felt underwhelmed, And like I said, I'm not saying I want a droids whizzing by, because the whole point is Obi-Wan and Vader. But in the argument, in the conversation we had, where we said the problem with shows is that the budget is lower, so it feels like a show. That's why I like movies. When I go to a movie, it feels more epic because of the scale of it. And that's what I was missing on this. I loved all the stuff between Vader and him, but I just felt it missed that punch to make it more epic. And I wish it had that. Again, this is a nitpick. I still enjoyed it. Yeah. But when I think back on it, or even the aspect is, I rewatched it and it bothered me more because I was like, this is so good, but it's missing something. Yes. So I feel like that's the amount of times I've rewatched a lightsaber scene or something just because I want to watch it on YouTube. I don't know if I'll rewatch that one. I even rewatched the Rebels one with Obi-Wan because of how it looks and everything like that. And that's animation. This one, like I said, there's still going to be another one, and I hope that one really delivers. But this one felt like it was missing something. And when I look back on it, what I think it's missing is some more punch and epicness in the background and in the shots.
Can I push back on you a little bit?
Push back all you want.
You just referenced the Rebels episode where they're sitting on Tatooine. It's dark and there's a campfire. There's nothing going on in the background.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying. The stuff with that though, it's still the Rebels still looks better than what we got in this show. It's just a pile of dirt, and it's really badly.
They're on Tatooine. It's a pile of dirt.
That's the whole planet. It's really badly lit. No, because in Rebels, it's at nighttime and the stars are like popping behind. Like the whole scene where he's grabbing Maul, like it's beautiful. Like you can go back and look at that. You know exactly what shot I'm talking about. And you know that looks better than what they gave us, which was Obi-Wan running, a big mound of dirt behind him, and the camera shooting off from the back. That it wasn't epic. It wasn't beautiful. It was like...
I mean, I think
it was cool. It was cool.
I think we're just going to disagree. I mean,
well, yeah, of course.
What I wanted to say was, I think when it comes to like shooting shots and just when it comes to making sets and stuff like that, there's a dial, right? Like there's a scale where you're like more money, more density, more skyboxes, more detailed skyboxes, more CGI work, and you're scaling it, to the max in a movie, right?
More money, they went more dirt. On this side.
Well, it's like you could have shown
less money.
Dirt. Like when it comes to like Tatooine, it's like sure, it's just a desert planet, but there's size, there's scalability with infinite dirt or infinite sand. You know what I mean? Like there is scalability and there's an epicness to it. Honestly, like just the vastness.
I think we're just realizing Star Wars has a dirt problem.
Yeah, but. Yeah, I still really enjoyed it. I mean, we're just nitpicking. But I agree with you. At least it was just missing a little bit, especially with those characters. We're used to seeing them on the backdrop of a movie. Yeah. And so when you put them on a TV set, that's where it just becomes apparent for me. That's all. It just becomes more apparent.
I think it would have been better if they were fighting in the diner.
That would have been better.
That would have been
some Jawa juice.
Yeah. Over the table.
Hello, Dex.
He's like hiding and they're making pancakes. Like, the droids are going, Wah.
Somebody see you, honey.
Speaking of dirt, I like that the stormtroopers are dirty. I love me a good dirty stormtrooper.
It's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah.
And then
because Mando, it's the same way.
Yeah. So that was cool. I actually didn't mind Zach Braff as the. Basically,
dude, I thought it was Seth
Rogen, dude.
It sounded like
Seth Rogen.
And then I couldn't.
It sounded so familiar.
And now you realize how similar Zach Braff and Seth Rogen's character.
Once I knew that it was Zach Braff, you can totally hear the way he delivers the line.
It was like Zach Braff playing Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Like that's where you guys character.
He just needed to laugh.
But I like that he's like a sympathizer. Like
he's a snitch.
Oh, I love the Empire. We need order, and I like seeing that aspect of the galaxy. Basically,
it's an angle we've seen in like Rebels and other stories, but it was good to show that here in this one. Yeah, because we saw Haja being the other way, right, sympathizing with the Rebels. Yeah, that was good.
Cool. Well, anything else about this third episode?
I think that's
a
it.
heated discussion.
Hey, the fourth episode drops tomorrow. So
tomorrow, Yeah.
Get ready till next week to hear us talk about the episode tomorrow.
I hope they really just keep the train rolling with Vader. I don't want it to like slow
let's
down.
follow the
Like
third sister for an episode. It's like, no, keep giving me
like this
Raver.
Vader. Like this is the time where like just show us Vader.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
Yeah. I think that once they've shown that card and he was so close to Obi-Wan, I think they have to keep it rolling.
Yeah.
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 So that was our spoiler talk. On
Yeah,
episode
let us know
3.
if you agree with me and Corey, or if you agree with Josh and
The
and
right
Mick.
ones over here.
So in the comments
Hey,
below.
there's
and
nobody. I
we'll
can. See,
continue.
I see your point of view. I'm just.
I never thought I'd
we're
agree
right.
with the Sith. You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah, wait a
way you
minute.
go.
That's
You're
messed
agreeing
up.
with the Sith over there too. So you know,
Lose.
yeah, lose.
Jeez.
But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.